Okay, here's a look at FansToys FT-31E Bandit, which is their version of a masterpiece scale dead end. So here you could see what the bio card looks like, and on the back you get your typical product images and the bio, which is hard to read unless you zoom in and pause and read what that says. And like I said before, there's no fixing this now. FansToys is always going to give us this hard to read bio on their bio cards. But these are my favorite, done in a nice credit card plastic, so that's really nice. And in terms of the accessories, he comes with two of these guns. So here you could see that it is nicely sculpted, nicely painted, with some nice detail on there. And this actually functions also as the attachment for the alt mold, so you can kind of mimic that original G1 toy, so that's nice. And the other accessory that this comes with is a alternate tune accurate faceplate. And if you know me, I really like the tune aesthetics, but this one, yeah, I have to agree that this does not really look as good as this version, where, you know, his nose is covered up with the mask, and this one it looks like his mask is down a little bit too low. But yeah, those are the accessories. And now let's do this. Let's now compare this with the animation model, so you could see how well they captured the tune aesthetics. And for the most part, they did a really nice job capturing the tune aesthetics. I mean, that is what they're going for. But you know, there are tiny little things off, such as the little detail here is off. And then they also did take the liberty to put in a little bit of their own detail, like up here, you know, on his chest. There's a little sculpted detail in there, so that's really nice. And then when we look at the back, yeah, it's obviously not very tune accurate, but that's understandable because you have to put this junk in the trunk somewhere. So the most important thing, I think, is, you know, how well does it clean up? And you could see from the side view, it does clean up really nice. You know, I laugh because, you know, people are always complaining backpack and stuff, which for the most part doesn't really bother me because it's not really that big. But here, clearly, there is no backpack there. So yeah, here's a look at dead end. And to go over some of the articulation as quickly as possible, let's just come up here. So here you could see his head is on a swivel and a mushroom peg, so a hinge and a mushroom peg, so it can go up and down, side to side, but no all around. And his shoulders, you could see they can go out to the side on friction. You could see the teeth there, so these are nicely ratcheted shoulder joints. You do have the FansToys Squeak friction bicep swivel. You do get double jointed elbow bend, and part of that's due to the transformation. So yeah, you can manipulate this to get this to go up a little bit more, I think. I don't remember exactly how I did that, but yeah, you do get you know, articulation with the elbow joint. And then he does have a fist rotation, and these hands are done really nice. I mean, they're done in that old FansToys style before the organic fingers, which I actually like because this looks more like robotic fingers. And you could see they are all individual, all the digits are individually articulated, and a ball joint on the thumb, so no worries about breaking it, X-Transbots. And you do get friction waist rotation. But here, the most important thing I think to point out with articulation, you don't get any ab crunch, and also up here you don't get any bicep swivel. But everything else is pretty much standard. You get the legs go out to the side, you get nice ratchets going forward and back. You do get a knee joint on friction, and down here at the feet, it's pretty tight, but you do get ankle rocker. And you can get a toe tilt up and down. So just pretty much your standard articulation. But like I said, the most important thing I think to point out with articulation is, you know, what's missing for those people that like the ab crunch and butterfly joints. So, you know, it doesn't have those two, but for the most part, it has just your standard articulation. So now let's do some comparisons. So first, I had to decide X Transbots or DX9. So first, since it's always X Transbots and DX9, here is X Transbots. And I'm just gonna let you know now, I'm doing my best to keep it very short and simple. So hopefully, you know, I could point out all the details, every single thing that's an issue or positive things, and you know, I'm not going to cover all of it just for the sake of time. But here, the most important thing, you could see the difference between the two. Obviously, X Transbot shorter, FansToys is taller, and you have to, well, you don't have to, but I always take into consideration, you know, when this came out, that was before all the hypertune and stuff. So when this first came out, you know, this scale actually wasn't too bad. And, you know, this one does have those extra articulations with the ab crunch and the, does this one? I thought this one did have the butterfly joint. No, well, this one does have the ab crunch. But yeah, you could see the difference between the two. And I think that's just the most important thing. And then when we move these guys aside, we could bring out what I actually like as my Stunticon, which is the DX9 version. So let's bring his gun down here. And again, I'm not going to point out all of the, you know, details here and there. So here you could just see, you know, the difference between the all three of these, what these look like. And like I said, the DX9, I actually do like them, and I'm just trying to selectively point out things. The DX9 is much lighter, so that just, you know, depends on your preference. I actually like the lighter figures, but then I also don't complain about the, you know, the brick that some people, you know, complain about FansToys. Although this one, compared to their other Stunticons, is the lightest of them all. So this actually feels just as good as this one. And then, yeah, like I said, I can go on and on with all the little details here and there. And I did want to just speak to something. I remember when this came out, there's a reviewer that, you know, seems like he's making some changes, but he was complaining about, you know, this is bad because the proportions are off, and that's not taking into consideration all the engineering and stuff to point out why the torso here is longer. And actually, it's not the torso or the chest part that's too long, because it's actually a chest with a waist. It's actually these hips that are actually a little bit too small. But anyways, I just wanted to speak to that. But thankfully, you know, now, you know, the reviewer is making it very clear that that is his opinion, and his opinion doesn't determine whether a figure is good or bad, because it's all subjective. It's based on what your preference is. So I wanted to share all of that because I'm still trying to make all of that clear, so people aren't arguing back and forth and leaving some ignorant comments. I'll just say that. But anyways, here's a look at that. And then just for a few more comparisons, let's zoom out and let's bring out the original G1. So here is the original G1. Yeah, and I laugh because I know the history of this figure when this first came out. Some of the kids that I used to play with, they broke in the house and they stole my SDF1 I was making out of the Legos. And then my mom ended up taking me to the store and buying me all of the Stunticons. So yeah, there's just sharing some history. So here's a look at the original G1. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all of this group shot here, but let's put him over there. And then, you know, after that, they came out with the Combiner Wars. So here you could see what the Combiner Wars looks like. I do have the Unite Warriors version, but that one's combined into Menasor with the DNA upgrade set. So we'll put him there. And then the latest mainline retail, this is, I think, the Legacy, is it? Yeah, so this one, you know, there you could see the difference between the two. Here they're trying to be a little bit more tune accurate. This one was more stylized, and then now, which has issues because it doesn't have the ankle rockers that these new figures have, and then upside down. And then the last is what I call the mini masterpiece. This is Magic Squares, and just look at this compared to the masterpiece, compared to the mainline retail. You could see, yeah, why I call these mini masterpiece, because for such a small legend scale, look at how well they are able to capture all of the cartoon accurate details. They did a really nice job. And then I'll just end by saying I'm really looking forward to seeing what New Age is going to give us when theirs finally comes out. So anyways, here's a look at you know, all of the dead end that I have. And I'll call this a group shot picture, which is what my friend posts a lot on the Facebook, the Cybertron Cafe. So I don't know if he's going to do something like that, something like this. But yeah, here you could see what all these guys look like. I'm trying to see if I can get a nice group shot here so I can take maybe a screenshot so you could see all of these. This looks really, really cool. But anyways, this is all about the FansToys version. So now let's take these guys aside and come right back.
We're ready to roll, Megatron! Me, Motormaster, Dragstrip, Wild Rider, Dead End, and Breakdown!
Okay, now for some more comparisons. Let's bring out, for comparison, Wild Rider. So you could see how these two look next to each other. And every time I think of Dead End or Wild Rider, I actually think of both of them together, because they appeared in, you know, that episode together, you know, when they took the Matrix from Rodimus, who became Hot Rod. But anyways, let's put him over there. And then for another comparison, let's bring out Breakdown, because every time I think of Wild Rider, I always think of him as the lower leg, and so he should be with the other lower leg, which is Breakdown. So here you could see what these guys look like. And then Breakdown is always on the same side with Dragstrip. So bring out Dragstrip, and here you could see what all these guys look like together. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all these guys in a nice group shot here. And then last, of course, we are missing the leader of the Stunticons, which is Motormaster. And yeah, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all of these guys in for a group shot, because I don't have a really big recording station here, but this is the best that I can do, and I think it's okay. I think I'll take a different shot later just on my own. But here, the main thing is you could see what these guys look like now all together. And I don't think I can rotate these guys around, but yeah, this is a nice set. And I'll just speak to, you know, selective things that, you know, I like and want to point out that, you know, the scale, first of all, the scale, these all scale really well with the Masterpiece line, except Motor Master, you know, he's a little bit taller than Megatron. But you could see the Stunticons next to Motor Master. I think they scale really well. I'm speaking to, you know, X-Transbots Motor Master is really big, and then the other 4 Stunticons are too small. DX9 actually does a nice job, and that's why I want to have the DX9 as my Stunticons, because FansToys, I'm going to try to appreciate this because these are now going to be combined and stay as my Menasor. But anyways, all that said, just to give you a group shot, but now it's back to dead end. So now let's do this. Let's go ahead and transform all these guys into their alt mode and take a look at that.
Let's transform!
Okay, here's a look at Dead End in his vehicle alt mode. So now let's compare this with the animation model and see how well they captured the toon aesthetics. And you could see that there are some things off, such as the blue headlights, which kind of bothered me because Dead End never appeared in the cartoon with blue headlights, so I'm not sure why they chose to, you know, color those blue. And then you could see on the animation model he has a sunroof, but I think this is actually more accurate to the cartoon because he never appeared in the cartoon with the sunroof. And then if you look at the windows here, it has kind of like this dark beige color, which looks nice. But in the cartoon, you know, it was just straight up black. So yeah, there are some things a little off, but overall the shape, they did a nice job capturing the shape. And the back view, you know, it's pretty much the same thing. They did a nice job capturing the overall shape of the figure. So yeah, I think they did a nice job. So now let's zoom in and take a closer look at the details. So here you could see the front headlights are blue, which actually looks nice, but you know, it never appeared in the cartoon like that. And you know, I don't think it's legal to have blue headlights, so that kind of doesn't make sense as far as like a realistic vehicle. But here you could see these you know, lights up here, the transparent yellow plastic. I think there's like silver painted silver paint inside, so it shines through, looks really nice. You could see the nice metallic paint finish. Has kind of like this maroon burgundy-ish kind of color, which is not really toon accurate because he was more red, but this is actually still a really nice color. And then you could see typical FansToys. You get, you know, the nice rims that are nicely sculpted and chrome plated with the nice rubber wheels with some treads on there. So that's really nice. All these extra details. And someone, I don't remember where I heard it from, but someone was saying that they didn't paint these side view mirrors, this nice chrome silver. Yeah, that would have been nice. I mean, no one really sees it, so, you know, it's not really a big deal there. But you could see the back also has that nice transparent yellow plastic. Looks really nice. And then they have some extra detail, you know, the windshield wiper on the back and then the front. So they did give some nice realistic accent. So overall, you know, it's typical FansToys. They did a nice job sculpting the figure, painting the figure. But this one, I don't know if you've been seeing this, it doesn't clean up very well. And if you see, I have to press hard here just to kind of clean that parting line up. But as soon as I let go, it's going to come back up because the tolerance here is not controlled very well. And I know that's not just my copy, because I've seen posts on Facebook, you know, like the combine mode for the arm. There's, you know, this huge parting line gap here in the center because it doesn't really close together. And that's all, you know, because, you know, what I noticed with FansToys, they do not do a good job fixing the tolerance. That's why you see me do the transformation, give it a good squeeze, because you have to apply force to get things to go in all the way. And then when you're trying to pull things out, you have to apply force to pull things out. So that's not really good. So that's really, you know, my only negative complaint with FansToys. Now that I figured out what they're doing, they're using this nice paint to kind of shortcut other areas, such as, you know, not putting little bits of glue on certain areas, not on this figure, but other figures where the parts come off because they're not sealed. And then you see on Facebook, people are posting, this piece came off, where does it go? I mean, if you're paying all that money, how come they don't even, put in a little glue to seal those things? They don't do things to fix the tolerance, so you're not having to apply all this force to push them in, to pull things out. Yeah, so again, that's basically my negative comments with the figure. But overall, you can see it's a nicely sculpted figure, nicely painted, does do a nice job of capturing the toon aesthetics, except for the blue headlights. But yeah, it's a nice figure. So now let's do some comparisons. So for the first comparison, let's bring out the X-Transbots version. And here you could see the difference between the two. And this one has that more reddish color that I was telling you. And you could see the windows are black. So, you know, typical X-Transbots, they also do a nice job sculpting the figure. They also paint it, but it doesn't have the nice metallic paint. And this one, the X-Transbots, they did give you a sunroof to match the animation model, but this one's more toon accurate. And yeah, this is not a X-Transbots review, but I did want to point out a few things with this. So first, the positive, like I just said, they always do a really nice job sculpting the figure, painting the figure, you know, adding in all these nice detail, like here the Porsche logo. And then they always do certain things that they don't need to, such as, you see that little switch there? They put in some LED lights here, so you put the batteries in and then you can light that up, which is really cool, but they don't need to do that. And I don't know why they focus on things like that, you know. And here, unfortunately, they weren't able to do things like have the door open, the trunk open, stuff like that. But typical X-Transbots, the issue with them is, you know, the quality of the plastic and the engineering. And I just wanted to speak to that, you know, really quick, since I took the time to figure out how to transform this. I don't like watching reviews because I actually enjoy, you know, figuring out how to transform them and learning, you know, just, you know, the way they design the engineering. But anyways, It's just so many things don't make sense. I mean, having to bend plastic over plastic, and you have to figure out the order, and then there's like multiple sliding joints here. It's just way too complicated, and there's too many parts. So, you know, that's the negative with the X-Trans bots, and I already pointed out the negative here. But for the most part, you could see both of them, they actually do look, both of them look really good. But with X-Trans bots, I'm noticing a trend that their figures seem to look best in alt mode, because that's where you can appreciate all the, you know, all the details that they put in. But anyways, here's a look next to the X-Trans bots. And then we have the DX9, and this is what I'm going to keep as my Stunticons. Yeah, I'm still deciding whether, you know, they should be in robot mode or alt mode, because I think I made up my mind. The X-Trans bots, I think I'm going to keep in the alt mode. So I might have to keep the DX9 in robot mode, because the FansToys are going to be combined together to be my Minosaur. And you could see here's an issue here. They didn't really put the glue here. That's typically FansToys issue where things are just popping off. But yeah, you could see. And this one also, you know, has that nice red color. And it does have that sunroof. And I just want to speak to this too. This is not a review of the DX9, but this one, you know, it doesn't have that nice metallic finish, but this is still painted. And, you know, this just has more of like a premium look and feel to it, like the chrome plated rims. But here you could see they're just silver painted. I mean, they don't go to the extent to do what FansToys does. Look at the transparent plastic for the headlights. Here it's silver, but they do give you a little bit here, transparent plastic. But yeah, I don't want to use the word downgrade. It's just FansToys goes to a little bit, does a little bit more to have more of like a premium look. And that's not to say this is bad, because my whole point is this is actually a really nice figure. It's actually easier to transform than X-Trans bots, and actually a little bit easier to transform than the FansToys without having to, you know, do all that squishing and squeezing things together to fight with the tight tolerance. Here, these just fall into place pretty simple and easy. And when I'm, you know, pointing out the difference between all of them, I'm not saying this is better than this or this is worse than this and all that stuff. I'm just pointing out the difference. But overall, you could see all of these, they do look nice. They just have their differences. So here is a look at the Masterpiece versions. And now let's do a little bit more comparisons and bring out the original G1. And the original G1 has the yellow stripe. So that's how you could tell the difference. And these don't have the stripe, so these are more the cartoon aesthetics. And yeah, this is yeah, I already shared my history with this. So this you know, has some sentimental value of it to me. And then after that, we had the mainline retail. This is the Combiner Wars. Again, I do have the Takata Unite Warriors version, but that's combined as my Minosaur. And here you could see there's obviously a difference. This is the stylized rendition, so you could see the shapes a little different. And I wanted to speak to this. So, you know, when you critique these things, you have to, you know, know what the criteria is. And here, you know, most of the time I'm judging, you know, based on the trending toon aesthetics. But here, you know, obviously this is not going to fit the cartoon aesthetics. So I have to really, you know, critique this from a design perspective. And I think it's actually really nice, because when you look at it, look at the way they design these headlights with these nice shape. And then you could see the stripe here is a little bit at an angle, and the Decepticon logo is not straight center. It's kind of like at an angle. So they did put in some design elements to give this you know, a nice stylized look. But anyways, I just wanted to, you know, share some thoughts about that really quick. And then after that, the newer version, I think this is the Legacy, which, you know, they are trying to go more tune accurate, with the exception of the stripe here, trying to go for that G1 look. But here I just wanted to show you the difference. And here you could see, let's see if we can zoom out a little bit and get a nice group shot of all these guys. So FansToys, DX9, X-Transbots, Combiner Wars, the Legacy, the original G1. And then there is the Mini Masterpiece by Magic Square. And yeah, the first thing that stands out is, yeah, what a lot of people complain, you could see this is definitely missing some of the nice paint that we get here. And so that kind of speaks to the New Age. You know, New Age always does a nice job of painting their figures. So New Age is, I'm really looking forward to see what New Age is going to give us. But anyways, I'm going way off tangent now, because this is really about the FansToys dead end. But here I just wanted to do this just to give you a nice group shot of all the dead ends that I have in my collection so far. And yeah, all of these, I you know, I could appreciate them, you know, for what they are. You know, original G1, the Mini Masterpiece, you know, the mainline retail, the stylized version, the Masterpiece, you know, the 3 different versions, X-Transbots, DX9s, FansToys. But anyways, I'm starting to ramble. So now let's take these guys out and then do one final comparison, and hopefully you know what that is. And that is with the other FansToys Stunticons. So here's Dead End next to Wild Rider, and these guys always look nice together because it always reminds me of you know, when they were together in that episode Burden, Hardest to Bear. So yeah, you could see what these two look like next to each other. And then like I said already, in robot mode, every time I think of Wild Rider, I always think of Breakdown, because both of these guys, they form the legs for Minosaur. And here you could see what these guys look like. Man, this set looks really, really nice. I mean, the cars, all of them, they're nicely sculpted, nicely proportioned, nicely painted, all this nice detail. But anyways, and then we do have the drag strip, and this guy, he's actually really big. I mean, just look at this. Well, it doesn't, it almost looks the same on camera, but yeah, in person, I mean, he's pretty big. But the main thing, you know, here you could see what all these Stunticons look like. This kind of reminds me, you know, that episode where, you know, the Stunticons were attacking Sideswipe and Sunstreaker. Yeah, so this is actually really cool. And now, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get Motor Master here, but let's see if we can move these guys out to the side and then bring in Motor Master. And here, hopefully, this is all these guys are being caught on film here. But yeah, now you could see what these guys look like all together. And this is a really, really nice set. So yeah, I'm really happy that I have a complete set of the Masterpiece scaled Stunticons that actually look really nice, that, you know, match the Masterpiece scale. So yeah, So here's a look at all of them, and this is probably the best group shot I'm gonna be able to capture because I don't have a big display. So hopefully this is good enough and you can see what these guys look like. Yeah, so now just to try to keep my video short, I'm gonna end my review here and just give you my final thoughts on this figure. So first, you could see that this looks really nice to have a complete set finally after how many years? And the good question to ask is, was this worth that long wait? And that really depends on each individual, you know, but for me, I'm gonna say that I don't think this was worth the wait, because for such a long time, the least that they could have done was, you know, fix things like here, the tolerance, so things can clean up a little bit better, or you don't have to struggle and fuss with trying to get things to tab in or untab. Yeah, other than that, you could see, yeah, just, you know, all in vehicle mode and robot mode. This is a really nice set. Unfortunately for me, these guys are going to be combined to form Menasor. So I'm not like some of those collectors that have 3 or 4 of these, and you know, have the room and space and money to have one in alt mode, robot mode, and combined mode. But you know, yeah, I shared this many times. You know, one of the reasons I don't do that is because it's just, I don't have the space. And also, you know, what am I gonna do with all of those too? But anyways, I don't want to start rambling. I'm just gonna end my review here, just with my final thoughts. This overall is a nice figure. This is actually the easiest to transform out of all of these. And you could see that, you know, it does look nice. A typical FansToys, you know, nicely sculpted, nicely painted, all these little details here, the transparent plastic for the lights and window and stuff like that. And now, just looking forward to seeing what this is going to look like in combined mode. So that will be my next review, is well, actually maybe the trailer and then the combined mode. So that's it. That's my final thoughts and review for the FansToys FT-31E Bandit, or their version of a masterpiece scale dead end.
Nobody's driving those cars. They must be the Autobots.